Hello, I'm Paul Garner, and over the last 15 years I've been absolutely obsessed with what goes on below the surface in rivers and lakes in the UK. And I've spent absolute fortunes learning to dive and on expensive camera equipment. But today we're going to show you something that can really open up a new dimension to your fishing, the new Westin feature finding kit. So let's take a look at the setup that I'm going to be using today. Now the heart of the system is the little Explore cam. Now this is a smaller version of the original Westin Escape cam, but miniaturized. So this has got a battery life of about 1.5 hours, which is perfect for what we're doing with the feature finding. And it's really, really small and neat. It's by far the smallest underwater camera on the market. And we've got that attached to this stainless steel rod. Now that's really important because on the cast, the last thing you want is a 3 or 4 ounce lead coming back round and smacking against the camera and perhaps damaging it. So by using that stiff rod, we've got absolutely no problem with that happening. And then a 4 ounce lead attached, just as you would on a normal marker setup on the bottom, just on a quick clip. Now the other crucial part to it is these green fins. And the beauty of that is it really stabilizes the camera in the water, especially when you're retrieving it slowly along the bottom. It just stops it twisting and rolling and gives you a much cleaner image because the camera is just tracking straight all the way back. And then all I've done, there's various ways of rigging it, but all I've done here is I've just rigged it, just literally tied it onto some 80-pound braid. Obviously it's important, it's an expensive bit of kit, the last thing you want to do is to lose it. So 80-pound braid is my go-to for this. The other option is you can also incorporate, because you've got this large fixed loop on the top of the rod, you can also use it as a traditional marker float and use this just as your marker stem. But for what we're doing today, I'm going to start off by casting out a traditional marker float setup, pull it back, and we'll see what I can feel, and I'll give you my interpretation of what's going on, and then we'll find out what's really happening when we cast out the camera. Right, so let's begin with just a real bog standard carp fishing style marker setup. Got my float, big ring, and a 4 ounce lead. And you know, as you would always approaching a new swim, I've never been in a swim before, you can just fan cast around and feel for features. And this is an old quarry, so I'm expecting there to be quite a lot of feature out here. I'm not going to go too far, maybe 8 wraps, something like that. Let it sink. So it's fairly deep. There we go. And let's have a slow wind back. Oh, some gravel there, see what we can feel. And I've got 20-pound braid on this outfit, so I can feel pretty much what's going on. We've bounced across a bit of what felt like gravel. Oh, feels like firmer gravel there because the lead actually locked in it for a second before pulling out. Let's have a look and see what the depth's like, shall we? So, buttering on these rods is about 2 foot. Roughly speaking, doesn't really matter as long as you use the same setup every time. So that's 6, 8 foot, 10 foot, still no sign, 11, 12, 13, yeah, just under 13 foot there. Now wind it back down and let's have a feel. So yeah, it's actually quite gravelly out here. A lot of it I can feel, those you see on the rod top. Actually see it bumping back, gravel, bang. Yeah. I must admit, what I found when I've done this in the past on other lakes, is so often you think that's clean gravel, but it often isn't quite as clean as you think when you put the camera out. But we'll see what happens. We're about halfway back now. Let's wind it back down again, let's just check the depth. I'm speeding things up today, obviously, I don't want to bore you too much. This is a quick way to get to lower swim. So that was 8 foot there, so it's coming up quite a bit. Don't think we've probably reached the shelf yet, but we're getting there. again, there's odd bits where it's a bit softer, maybe a bit more silty, but generally, yeah, quite gravelly. Quite a lot of gravel. I mean, you look in the margins here, it's all pebbles and small stones, so that doesn't really surprise me. It's obviously quite a gravelly lake. Not picked up any weed that I can feel of. Normally if there's weed, or you'll feel the rod tip will pull round and it will go a bit dead, but can't really feel much of that. In contrast, silt, if you're pulling through silt, unless it's really deep, often it will just be smooth and you just won't get any bumps. It'll pull back nice and easily, but just feel really smooth. Oh, there we look like we're coming up. It's a bit shallower just because the tension's just increased. Let's check that. 4 foot, 5, 6 foot, 6 foot, there we go. So yeah, so we've got about 12 foot towards the middle, and then shelving up to about 6 foot closer in. Keep going, keep going. I see a lot of people, they stop with a marker while it's still, you know, several rod lengths out, quite a long way out. And on most lakes, one of the best features, if not the best feature, is the marginal drop off. So always have a good feel around close in as well. Don't ignore that. 4 foot, yeah, 4 foot now. That come up really quick. So yeah, we're getting to the point where we're probably getting a bit shallow there. So I'll repeat that. Same process, just fan cast around, get a mental picture in my head of what's going on in the swim. And then normally what I'd probably do is then go back, and if there's a spot that I think, oh, that's really nice, that I need to look at that in a bit more detail, I'll then have a few casts, maybe clip up, get a bit more of an idea, and spend a bit more time looking in detail at 1 or 2 areas once I know the general topography of the swim. So that was quite interesting. Let's put this rod down, grab the camera back and see what was actually going on. So now the moment of truth. Let's see what's really going on out there. Important to make sure you've got the cap on properly. So I just used the little cap tool just to turn it very slightly and lock it in position. And then you've got a little LED light that just shines through the translucent base of the cap, and that goes from red to turquoise and then flashing green, just to make sure, just to tell you that the camera's on and recording. So there's a turquoise, there we go. So that's it. It takes about 5-10 seconds just to boot up. There we go. And so again, I'm just going to put this back out on that same, roughly that same line. There we go. Feel it down. That wind's really starting to pick up now. It's really pleasant today. Perfect carpy day. There we go. I can feel the lead there again. 4-ounce lead and braid means you can maximum amount of feel of what's going on the bottom. And what I'll do is every time I feel it bouncing on something or there's something going on, I'm just going to leave it static on a tight line just for a couple of seconds, just to get a bit more footage. So I can then pause it if I need to on the way back, well, when I put it into the iPad, see what's going on. Really bouncing again, like we found with a marker float. Feels quite gravelly. You get a slightly different feel, I would say, with the camera than you do with the marker float. Let's stop there again. Give that a second. See what's going on. And we're about halfway back now. I mean, what I could have done, which would have been interesting, is if I found a spot with the traditional marker float set up, I suppose I could have popped the float up and left it there and used that as a marker to aim at when I cast the camera out as well. Again, to be really accurate, to really pinpoint a spot and see what's going on. But we'll see what's happening. Might be a bit more silt there. Perhaps it's the bottom of the marginal shelf or something. It feels a little bit heavier. Something going on. stop again and have a proper good look at that. And you can see how it's important just to take your time, let the camera record as much as possible, give you as much information as you can. There we go, back in the margin now. Right, let's turn the camera off, take the card out and see what we got. So I brought my iPad today rather than just my phone, so we've got a bit of a bigger screen to look at, but it works both with Android phones and with iPhones just by changing the different adapter. And all I've done is I've taken the little micro SD card out of the back of the camera, put it into the card reader and then slotted that into my iPad. Open the Files app and then it brings up all of the video clips that you've recorded on your little Explore cam. So I click on that one, that's the one we've just filmed on the cast. And this was me talking to the camera just before the cast. And it'll be really interesting now once I cast this out to see exactly what's going on. It felt quite gravelly out there, but you never really know. I know from past experience it can be a little bit different to what you really think. So there we go, we've got the camera out there at the moment. Obviously it's come to settle on the bottom and I'm slowly drawing it back. Ah, that's interesting because as you can see, there's gravel there, there's pebbles there, but they're all covered in quite a thick layer of silt. And it's got that browny look to it. No weed out here. It's very clear, this lake, Esney's at the moment. Not very much weed in here at all, just a few patches around the margins, but really nice to fish. But yeah, you can see that even though that was really bumping back and felt quite gravelly and hard, everything's covered by a layer of silt. And to be honest, that's something I've found on a lot of lakes over the years when filming like this, that you often think that it's a lot clearer than it actually is. You can see how when I put those pauses in, it just gives you time to really pick out what's going on out there and see the detail of what's happening. And it would be nice to find a spot with a marker float that felt interested and then use that to cast at, again, to really see what the interesting spots are, the little details that's going on. You can see so much more than you can fill with a traditional marker float. It really does add a whole new dimension to your feature finding. But yeah, quite interesting. We're coming up that marginal slope now. It's again getting a bit siltier here, closer in, which again, sometimes you find that on lakes where you get the wash from the wind and it washes away the mud from around the banks and you get a build-up of silt. It's often why you get weed beds just at the bottom of the marginal shelf, because there's a lot of silt there. Quite clear. Again, it looks like we're getting into the zone where you're getting that undertow now when the wind blows, because the silt is a lot coarser. It's not that fine silt that puffs up. And there we go, yeah, that was right in the margins. So that's just one cast, and we've learned so much about what's going on. Imagine doing that, again, fan casting or finding a spot that you're interested on with a marker float and then putting that in detail and seeing what's going on. It really is interesting what you can see with these cameras. Well, we've been through how I've been using the Explore cam with a feature finding kit to really give me a detailed view of what's going on underwater. But just to finish up, I thought I'd share something else with you, just an idea that maybe you can incorporate in your own fishing, something really sneaky. And that's combining the Explore cam with your spot, your baiting up. So what I've done, I've clipped up, I'm not fishing very far out, I've only put it about 6 wraps. So I've clipped up, used my marker sticks to get the exact distance, clipped it up, cast out the Explore cam. And then what I can do is bait up over the top. And the idea being, then I can see exactly how much bait is out there and the spread that I'm getting. Now, that's interesting in itself, but what about then checking that same spot tomorrow morning? See if it's been fed on overnight. Maybe the fish have been in, cleaned all the bait out. Without the Explore cam, I would never know. Another really interesting way of using it. And there's so many ways for us to use these little cameras. Not everyone's cup of tea, I know, but if you're really interested, as I am, in what's going on underneath the water surface, then they're an invaluable piece of kit. So I hope that's been interesting. Maybe think about getting one for yourself and incorporating in your own fishing. Cheers for now.